Okay, so now we're going to talk briefly about active duty peace officers working as security guards or bodyguards. This can get to be a little bit of confusing, especially since bodyguards are not in an identifiable uniform. Usually they're in plain clothes or they're in a suit of some sort, meant for them to kind of blend in a little bit better. Excuse me. So we're going to go out. We're going to go in a little bit more in depth to this, and hopefully clear some of the clouds in this gray area here. Active duty peace officers working as security. An active duty peace officer may carry an exposed or concealed weapon while on duty as a security guard, provided all of the following conditions have been satisfied. Number one, the peace officer is employed as a security guard and is either on the payroll or paid on a W-2 of a private patrol operator, or i.e. paid with a W-2, or is employed by a proprietary private security employer, such as in-house security, and is an employee, not a subcontractor of the employer. For an example, a VIP being protected. While on duty as an armed security guard, the peace officer must possess a guard registration card and an exposed weapon permit issued by BSIS. This is very important. An active duty peace officer is not required to complete the Bureau's firearm course, nor satisfy the Bureau's twice a year range requalifications. So what this means is even though you're a police officer, you still have to have a BSIS California Guard card and a BSIS exposed weapons permit. You can't just you know, moonlight as a security officer or a bodyguard just with your police officer credentials alone. The state wants you to be trained as a security guard and as a bodyguard with them, and therefore you must possess their cards also. The only difference is that if you are an active duty police officer, you do not have to qualify at the range 2 times a year, in a 2 year period. As long as you're qualifying at your department's range, that more than well satisfies the Bureau's requirements for the firing range. Just make sure to keep all your paperwork and things like that, because BSIS may require it. They might want you to send it in as a proof. So that's pretty much it on a police officer being working as a security guard. Active duty peace officers and a PPO. An active duty peace officer who contracts to provide armed security services must possess a private patrol operator's license issued by BSIS. A few years back, during a Comic-Con here in San Diego, there was a bunch of Los Angeles County sheriffs who came down here and decided to moonlight for Comic-Con. And they got in trouble because number one, none of them had guard cards, and number two, the one that put it all together did not have a private patrol operator's license, a PPO. So remember, just because you're police officers, the Bureau and the state still want you to have these licenses. They want to know whether you're working as security or a police officer. They want that to be different. So you have to, if you're going to be working security, you have to have a guard card and you have to have your exposed firearm permit. And if you are putting together a security detail for a VIP or something like that, you have to have a private patrol operator's license. Okay, now this section is going to be dealing with federal law enforcement officers only. Do the exceptions above apply to active duty federal law enforcement officers, including federal protective service officers, otherwise known as FPOs? The answer is yes. If officers submit proof of being a federal law enforcement officer or FPO status or federal firearm qualifications to BSIS. May an active duty federal law enforcement officer, including FPOs, perform PI duties and carry a firearm while working as an employee for a licensed private investigator? The answer is yes. Active duty federal law enforcement officers and FPOs may perform PI duties while armed, without a BSIS issued firearm, while employed by a licensed PI. Are active duty federal law enforcement officers and FPOs required to possess a BSIS issued baton permit working as security guards? The answer is no. Active duty federal law enforcement officers are exempt from possessing the BSIS issued baton permit. Important notice for active law enforcement officers only. Active duty peace officers should exercise caution when identifying themselves as peace officers while working off duty as bodyguards or security officers. This is a very complex issue involving the interplay of PC Section 70 case law and the Business and Professions Code. The general rule that a peace officer is a peace officer 24 hours a day on or off duty may not apply when a peace officer is working off duty out of uniform. Please check with your department's policy on this, of course. You are advised to seek legal advice and follow the directions of your local law enforcement agency. You are also advised to familiarize yourself with Melendez versus City of Los Angeles. Now, this is for all the out-of-state law enforcement officers. Do the exceptions apply to active duty law enforcement officers from other states? The answer is no. All out-of-state law enforcement officers must comply with all BSIS requirements. So that means you're going to have to get a guard card. You're going to have to get your exposed firearm permit, and you're going to have to satisfy BSIS's requirement of 2 times a year in a 2-year period of requalifying on the range. Retired peace officers working as security guards. An honorably retired police officer with an endorsement from a law enforcement agency to carry a CCW may carry a concealed weapon while on duty as a private patrol operator or qualified manager. They can also do it as a security guard or a private investigator or the qualified manager for a private investigator firm. They can also do it as alarm company qualified manager or alarm agents, as long as they have a valid firearm permit issued by the Bureau. So they have to have both. You have to have the BSIS exposed firearm permit and your CCW that's endorsed by your department. Retired peace officers must complete the Bureau's course of fire and the twice-a-year requalification requirements. So that's where it's a little different from active duty versus retired. Retired peace officers, you still have to satisfy the Bureau's requirements of the firing range, being able to qualify twice a year in a 2-year period. While active duty peace officers, you do not have to do that, provided that you can, get your paperwork from your departments when you qualify at your department's range. Okay, reserve peace officers. You must complete the twice-a-year course, review, and the range requalification. Reserve peace officers authorized and qualified by their agency to carry a firearm are exempt from completing the twice-a-year 2-hour course, review, and range requalifications. So basically, as long as you're requalifying through your department, there's no need to satisfy the Bureau's requirement. But if you're not, well, then you still have to show up with us and do your requalifications twice a year, 2 times a year. Okay, now this is where it gets a little hazy and a little grayish. Security guards working as bodyguards. Under the Business and Profession Code, security guards and bodyguards are the same and are covered by the same laws. There's no difference. A bodyguard is a security guard. Peace officers frequently tell BSIS staff that since they are working in civilian clothes with a concealed weapon as a bodyguard for a VIP or celebrity, that they are not security guards, and this is incorrect according to the state. However, if the peace officer is on the payroll of the VIP with illegal deductions for taxes being withheld via a W-2, they are not required to have a PPO. So basically, you're an in-house provider for the celebrity. You're not running your own private security company. That's the difference. Okay, for security guards and bodyguards. The laws, rules, and regulations that apply to security guards apply to bodyguards. Remember, they are the same. Bodyguards and security guards are the same thing. For example, if a security guard must be in a security guard uniform to carry an exposed weapon, then a bodyguard must be in a uniform to carry an exposed weapon. If a security guard who works in civilian clothes with a concealed weapon, then they must possess a guard card, an exposed firearm permit, and either possess a CCW or be an honorably retired peace officer with an endorsement to carry a concealed weapon, or be an active duty peace officer. A bodyguard who works in civilian clothes with a concealed weapon must possess a guard card and an exposed firearm permit, and either possess a CCW or be an honorably retired peace officer with an endorsement to carry a concealed weapon, or be an active duty peace officer altogether.